This is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Oprah the Witch Winfrey has reemerged. Apparently she's been laying low for a couple of months. But she was on the Ellen DeGeneres show, and she was talking about her and all her celebrity friends and what they were playing while they were on a yacht somewhere, you know, just living the life up. But before I play you that clip, I want to play another clip of what she said while she was on the Ellen DeGeneres show, because apparently she was really, really sick. And she wants to tell you what you can do to prevent yourself from getting sick like her.
I came back, and I came back from overseas, and I thought I had a cold, but it wasn't a cold. I ended up in the emergency room, and they said, you have pneumonia. And I go home with pneumonia, and pneumonia is nothing to play with, y'all. It is very serious. All the time when I was sick, he goes, you must cancel everything. You cannot fly for a month. And then he had 18 vials of blood drawn. And so I thought, oh, this must be very serious because I saw his face. And, yeah. All right, so don't play with it, and get your flu shots and get your pneumonia shots. It's nothing to play with. It takes you down.
Now, isn't that funny? Here's Oprah telling everyone out there to get vaccinated, pretending as if, oh, if she was vaccinated, she wouldn't have gotten pneumonia. Meanwhile, Oprah has been one of the faces of vaccination on television, always out there talking about making sure, you get your vaccines, your flu shot, and everything else. So how come she got sick? Did she just forget to take, to get her shot this year? Pretty interesting, right? And the odds of her actually being sick, of that being a real story, are slim to none, because they always like to slip that stuff in. Oh, poor Oprah. Oprah was so sick. Nobody questions and goes, well, why didn't you have your shot, your vaccination, so you didn't get pneumonia? Because you've been telling us to get our shots for 20 decades already. Nonetheless, this is how they operate. These influencers always are going out there saying stuff like that, giving you fake stories. So if you're in the crowd, you get spooked. You're like, oh, I don't want to get that. That sounds horrible. That sounds serious. I better go get mine. That's what they do. They use these platforms to influence the zombies out there. Now let's move on to Oprah talking about the game she played, and even has slightly a slip of the tongue mentioning witches. But listen to the game that she played with Katy Perry, Bradley Cooper, and a who's who of elites on a boat.
On David Geffen's boat with, that was a star-packed boat. You had Katy Perry, Orlando Bloom, Bradley Cooper, Gail.
Yeah.
And
actually, if you ever get a chance, it's the thing to do.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, the thing to do is to find friends with boats. They like to play games. And I'm really not a game player.
Really?
No. I only play games on this show.
Why? What games were they playing that you don't like?
Well, I now like it because I've won a couple times. Bradley Cooper had a game called Witches and Wolves and Villagers.
Yes.
Wolves and Villagers.
Yes.
That's a complicated game.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Filled with judgment.
Yeah.
So, slip of the tongue there with witches, but I guess the name of the game happens to be called Werewolves and Villagers. And you can see on the website for this game, it's advertised as a party game for devious people. It almost looks like they're performing a ritual, for crying out loud. I'm going to show you a clip of them explaining the rules, but take a look here. You can see some of the cards, right? Villager and witch cards. You could be a witch. You could be a werewolf. They don't mention witch particularly in their walkthrough video, but here's a video of them explaining the rules of the game, about how they kill one another and all this other stuff, and these mock rituals. And I'll also play a clip from somebody from YouTube explaining how the game is played as well, a little bit, two different sides of this coin here. So take a listen.
Werewolf, a game of lies and deceit you play with your friends. There are four main roles in Werewolf: a moderator, a doctor, a seer, and of course, the werewolves. Everyone else is a villager. The game starts at night. Everyone's eyes are closed, heads are down, and hands are slapping the playing surface to cover up any noises. The moderator first asks the werewolves to wake up and silently make a decision as to who they are going Then, the doctor wakes up and is asked to heal someone. Finally, the seer wakes up, and the moderator confirms or denies if the person they point at is a werewolf. In the morning, the group finds out who was killed. This is where the game gets interesting. You see, anyone can be a werewolf, and it's up to you to find out who's telling the truth through whatever technique is necessary. Lies, deceit, accusations. You might have to swear on all that you hold sacred that you are absolutely not a werewolf, even though you know you're lying to your closest friends and family. Once everyone agrees upon a potential werewolf, they kill them off, one day and wolf at a time. The game proceeds in this fashion until the werewolves have killed the majority of the villagers, or the villagers have killed the werewolves. Werewolf, a party game for devious people.
The carnage begins. We have a vote. The werewolves get to vote who to eat at night, and then the villagers get to pick who to lynch in the morning. As your host in the first game, it is traditional that I get slaughtered. So they assemble a group of players. I mean, you see them all with their heads down on the ground, and you got to find out who the werewolf is, and then you have to find out who you want to ritually sacrifice. This sounds normal, you know. It's just the people out there that I'm constantly exposing. Oh, this is just what they're playing on a boat, and I'm sure nobody was really ritually, no, they didn't bring in on any peasant. Right? Like some just nobody that no one would ever know. And they were like, come on, aboard. What do you mean with Oprah and Bradley Cooper? And they didn't just play the game and probably ritually sacrifice somebody. Because, I mean, these people really perform ritual sacrifices, right? So it probably wouldn't be too fun for them to have a fake ritual. But how about the fact that they're normalizing these types of games, right? Because to have Oprah Winfrey, who is probably the most famous person in America, I mean, it could be debated between, a couple people. But Oprah, you don't even have to say her last name. It's a one word, you know who Oprah is. To come on the Ellen Show, which is one of the most watched shows, who knows how, and promoted shows shoved down everyone's throat, YouTube trending, you name it. And the game she actually promotes is some game who I'd never heard of it up until this point. And when she said it, I immediately looked it up because I'm like, I knew, clicking on the clip, I knew there was going to be something in there, with a cult practice. So they want to normalize this is the point. Normalize these types of games. Oh, there's 10 people. And we see this in these movies now. There's a bunch of movies that recently have come out where it's like, oh, it's a murder mystery night at the house. And, someone's going to get sacrificed. And who is it? Like Clue almost. And they're normalizing it here where they're like, okay, there's going to be a doctor, there's going to be a werewolf, and there's going to be villagers. And then we vote on who we should sacrifice, right? I mean, according to the gameplay, the moderator says, werewolves, open your eyes. The werewolves do so. They look around and recognize each other. The moderator should also know who the werewolves are. The moderator says, werewolves, pick someone to kill. The werewolves silently agree. I mean, sounds like a good game. What happened to playing Tiddlywinks? Remember that game? What happened to playing, I mean, it looks like they're literally sitting in a circle ready to play Duck, Duck, Goose. These, can't even say what they are, but I mean, nobody's like interested in playing Monopoly anymore. It's way too easy for Oprah and them. They already know how to cheat people out of money. So instead, they want to play these types of games. But I remember the days of Tiddlywinks and playing, Rummy Cube and those types of games. So the werewolves pick someone to kill. The other players are sitting there, their eyes closed, and the werewolves don't want to give themselves away. Sign language is appropriate, or just pointing, nodding, raising eyes. Of course, sign language, right? Using code, things that they're all well versed in. Might as well get the population well versed in it also, because sooner or later, our entire society is going to be living that way. They already pretty much are following the do without will mindset. It says when the werewolves have agreed on what victim to kill, the moderator understands who they picked. He says, werewolves, close your eyes. Now the moderator awakens. He tells the doctor, who to heal. The doctor selects someone they'd like to heal. The person chosen, which could be himself, will survive if the werewolves choose to kill him. Someone was killed and then saved by the doctor. The moderator will let the village know by saying someone's been saved. Again, I don't know where the witch part comes into it. I'm sure there's some type of, the witch can come in and do some type of witchcraft, because clearly they show that there's a witch villager card. But I'm sure that's probably the doctor. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. They're always talking about this stuff in plain sight, and people still think we're nuts. They're like, oh, they're just playing a game. Oh, it's just a music video. Oh, it's just a movie. I mean, they never take the time when they're on these shows to waste time, right? Oprah makes sure she gets in the depopulation agenda by making sure that people are scared to death from her story about getting pneumonia overseas and how she almost died and had to go to a specialist, so please make sure you're vaccinated. And then goes on to say, oh, it's so amazing to go on a boat, right? So she's pushing like, oh, and people out there are so jealous. I want to go on a boat. And she's like, befriend people who have boats. You know, let's all befriend the rich. Yeah, befriend Oprah and her friends so that you can go on the boat, play werewolf, and be the one that they literally sacrifice, because nobody would ever believe that the person sacrificed was on a boat with Oprah, let alone the fact that anyone would be able to prove it or get a, be able to do anything about it, because these people are get away with murder, literally. And then, of course, she's promoting this game. She's doing all those things while she's on the show. And people are like, you guys are nuts, you're making this stuff up. It's just a game. Somebody came up with a game called Werewolf. Yeah, and Oprah's promoting it for free on national television, right? Some weird game, which has to do with ritual sacrifice, picking someone to kill out of the group. They've got witch cards, they got magic spells, all this other crap in the game. They're doing bizarre things, and they're saying it's a party game for devious people. No one's ever really heard of it, and now Oprah's giving it a free plug, like as if you made some game. How would Bradley Cooper find the game? You know what I mean? Give me a break. Just give me a total break. These people are nothing but Satanists at the lowest form, and they will do whatever they can to indoctrinate you with their beliefs, with the things that they do to try to make them normalized, because they are the influencers in this social engineering epidemic that is the world that we live in today. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.